special treat for all of you. Our buddy and my fellow The First host, Jesse Kelly, is with us now. He is the host of the Jesse Kelly Show. He's got his own show down in Houston. He's on The First on Pluto TV, channel 248. And we have things to talk about. Mr. Jesse Kelly, good to have you on the program, sir.
It's good to be here in the flesh, my man.
So let's just hop into something right away. Red meat is very expensive in New York City, and it's a special thing when someone else is purchasing that perfectly charred meat for your consumption. So I wanted to just lead with, I appreciate that you will make good on your bet with regard to Pelosi and the articles of impeachment as soon as possible, because I might go tomahawk, Jesse Kelly. It might not even just be ribeye. We're talking bone-in ribeye. That's going to be like a $70 steak. I hope you're aware of this.
Here's the problem. Yes, I'm aware of it, and here's the issue, because I don't think you're perfectly aware of the situation. I owe you a steak for losing our bet with Nancy Pelosi. I owe you a steak for at least two other things that I can think of, just favors that you've done me. This is no exaggeration. I'm 4 or 5 steaks in that I owe you at this point in time. And now I'm starting to look at my bank account and think, can I even afford to meat buck again? I don't even know what I do here, but yes, obviously it's tomahawk.
You got kids too, so I know you got to get them like the little mini Air Jordans and stuff. So we'll do one steak, but it looks like the one steak covers it all, Jesse. But it looks like the articles of impeachment are going to get transmitted after all. But now let me ask you for real, as somebody following this very closely. I saw Pelosi's press conference this morning, and I just cannot imagine. I cannot imagine you are someone who is not a staunch Trump hater or someone who's a real Trump defender, right? If you're somebody who happened to be in the middle and you just look at this impeachment process, I don't know how it's possible to come away from it and think anything other than the Democrats look like utter buffoons. I really mean that.
Well, the poll numbers say that's what's happened, Buck. The poll numbers say that, look, the Democrats aren't stupid. Well, I take that back. They are stupid, but they've been polling independents. They've been polling Rust Belt swing voters throughout this process, because it's all about the 2020 election. And they've had polls where they've published, and they've had secret polls where they've tried to keep it quiet and couldn't. And they have taken a beating with Rust Belt independents throughout this process. It has been the worst political miscalculation I have ever seen in my entire lifetime, which is why I always believed, albeit stupidly, I always believed that Nancy Pelosi actually wouldn't send it at all, because the Democrats need this thing to stop. They need it to stop. It has been a disaster for them. And you're right, the press conference today, even today, they couldn't be on message. Nadler's up there talking about we have to impeach him or he'll cheat in the election, when the impeachment has nothing about the election. It is awful. You have Nancy Pelosi, who cannot even get through a sentence in a lucid manner anymore, and no reporter wants to address this as if it's not a story that the Speaker of the House might be mentally degenerating. It's amazing what's happened to that part.
You mentioned the Russia stuff, which has come back into fashion for Democrats. I mean, this was just in the last 24 hours. Representative Schiff. Producer Mark, would you play clip 11, please?
Well, it certainly looks like they're at it again, and with an eye towards helping this president, we all have to denounce any further meddling in our elections. Americans should decide American elections.
Americans do decide American elections, and anyone who thinks that Putin's deciding our elections just watches too much Rachel Maddow. I don't know what else to say.
That's the funny thing about it, Bug. Honestly, if you get past all the Twitter noise and Adam Schiff is lying about it, and Nancy Pelosi, I believe she called him Vladimir Putin today, which is kind of strange. But if you get past all that, all Trump has really been accused of, or all Russia has been accused of, set Trump aside, all Russia's been accused of is running some Facebook ads. And there are people out there, because of the Democrat Media Alliance's messaging for the past 3 years, there are people out there who think Vladimir Putin low-crawled into voting booths and changed votes for Donald Trump from Hillary Clinton in the last election. Russia ran a few Facebook ads, people. That's all.
Yeah, and the pretense here seems very clear that they have learned nothing from the Mueller report. They have learned nothing. None of that matters. Just bring up Russia again, and Democrats will think that there's some really big thing here. Anyway, you and I are on the same page on this one. I just wanted to kind of get your And I also want a quick reaction from you. First of all, did you watch? And I'm not trying to call you out because I missed the first 20 minutes of it. Did you watch the debate last night?
Okay, for one, that is calling me out because I'm embarrassed to say I did watch this one. I have not watched a single Democrat debate. I've saw the highlights. I need to update the people on all that was said, but I've been avoiding them. But now that the field is narrowed down, I was like, I'm going to tune in. Maybe the knives will come out tonight and whatnot. Maybe there's something interesting will happen. And it was a disaster. Not a single one of those people was going to even come close to competing with Donald Trump. Not one.
Who had the best night for you? I mean, if you just looked at that, apart from everything else that those candidates have said and done up to this point, if you're just saying, okay, I got to pick, if you were a paid Democrat consultant, which I know, you'd have to hit the bottle really hard at night just to sleep. But if you were a paid Democrat consultant and you had to pick one just based on their debate performance last night, who would it be?
Joe Biden. Joe Biden. People think that other people, we all focus, you and I both, everybody does this. It's human nature. You focus on this soundbite or this moment, and you think, that was the moment they won that debate, or that was the moment he lost the debate. Joe Biden is in the lead. Joe Biden is the clear front runner still at this exact moment. If the other candidates are going to continue to have public debates and not go after Joe Biden, then Joe Biden is going to win every one of them. Nobody went after Joe Biden last night, so Joe Biden won. I don't care about Bernie Sanders, commie lines. I don't care about Pete Buttigieg or whatever his name is. Any debate where Joe Biden does not come out bleeding, Joe Biden won.
Now, I also want to ask about 1917, the movie that you and I both saw. I saw it on my birthday. I actually went with my family, which is kind of an intense birthday movie. But I wanted to see it, and it was out. I know you've just recently seen it. It's nominated for a bunch of stuff. First, put aside the nominations and all that nonsense for a moment. Just what'd you think about this World War I movie?
Well, I should qualify this by saying I am a World War I, as I know you are. I'm a World War I freak. I consume everything I can on it. There's an amazing hardcore history podcast on it called Blueprint for Armageddon that's seriously 20 hours long. I'll read every book I can. I love World War I. I find it to be an infinitely fascinating conflict, and this movie did it justice, man. And it was different than other war movies in that there weren't a bunch of cheap scenes. You can throw in cheap scenes for a quick gasp from the audience, but you felt like you were a World War I soldier walking from this place to that place. And I don't want to give away too much because I know people are still going to watch the movie. But it felt real, man, and the intense moments were extra intense because of how real they did it. I was so blown away impressed. What do you think?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I thought that the sometimes whenever there's a movie that has a ploy to sell it, I mean, the one that comes to mind for me is everyone's like, ooh, Avatar. You have to see it in 3D. It's life-changing. I'm like, it kind of made me want to vomit, and the movie is terrible, and it's like commie propaganda, and James Cameron hasn't done anything good since Aliens. But anyway, and this time it's because it's all one shot, right? There's no breaking from that one shot in the entire 2 hours plus of this movie. I thought, is this just going to be a gimmick effectively, right? Is this the gimmick that, but it actually, I agree with you. It's almost like it because of that first person perspective that you're in the whole time. It feels like you are traveling along with this guy on his mission and did add to that sense of intensity. It really took on the feeling of like a first-person shooter, except you were just watching. You weren't, it wasn't like some corny action thing. You were a first-person shooter just hoping you weren't going to get shot.
It is so funny you brought that up because that's the first thing I thought when I heard, it's all one shot. I rolled my eyes and thought, good, we finally have a World War I movie, and some fancy schmancy Hollywood director is going to ruin it by trying to be a special butterfly and do it different than everything else. But you're right. And to explain what one shot means, because I know some people may not realize it, they're not cutting to this guy's face and that guy's face, and then you're zooming over to this part of the battle and that part of the battle. Cameras are surrounding these guys on this mission, and they're walking with them the whole way. Like that. I don't know how the actors did it, Buck. I mean, clearly they had to have cut scenes at some point. I don't know, maybe they didn't, but it was a great movie experience. And I'll tell you, I don't say this about a bunch of movies. Highly recommend people see this in the theater. I have a feeling the movie theater experience would add something extra.
Yeah, and the set design's incredible. I mean, the production value, they spent over $100 million on this movie, and you can tell from just the way, the the production value that you see on the screen. Jesse, everyone thinks of you now as a radio host on Pluto TV, the first, channel 248, of course. And you're also a former Marine. If I have to ask you for, is this in top 10? And this is a tough one. I mean, we didn't coordinate this beforehand. Is 1917 for you a top 10 all-time war movie?
Oh, no question. It honestly, it's probably top 5, my man. It's probably top 5. It just because, honestly, and it's so real, and it really, I mean, it brings, if you're one of these people who's been to war, it brings some things back for you, not in a terrible way, but it does. But it gives you that feeling of this is how these guys live, right down to, again, I'm not going to give away anything major, right down to him stabbing his hand in barbed wire. Like, and that would be a minor, nothing scene in most movies, but the way they did this, and you saw it, and you just thought to yourself, "Oh, that freaking sucks." Now his hand is going to hurt the rest of the movie there, and it did. It added.
Now, I don't want to also force you to make something too on the spot here for us, but so we're not going to go in order. But if I ask you for 5 of your top 10 greatest war movies of all time, what do you got for us?
Man, I've got some weird ones in there. Oh, man, 5 top 10 war movies. Platoon is on everybody's short list. It's also on my short list. There's no question about it. I hate to sound like my grandpa, but Dirty Dozen is still on that list. That's a great movie, dude. And I don't even like old movies. I'm not one of these people who hates, you have to see, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. But no, Dirty Dozen is absolutely on that list. Probably Saving Private Ryan, only because
you gotta put Saving Private Ryan on the list.
Yeah.
Come on.
The Normandy Experience has got to be on there. And this last one, I don't know if most people have heard of it or seen it or even really call it a war movie, even though I would. It's called Spartan. It's with Val Kilmer. It's called Spartan. And I actually think, and I may be wrong about this, I think Peter Jackson is the one who made it. The same Peter Jackson who made, the Lord of the Rings movies. And most people have not seen this movie, Spartan, but Val Kilmer did extensive special forces training before the movie, and he even talks like those guys in it. It is one of the movies people have not seen. It is awesome. One of my favorite movies ever.
I've never even heard of that movie. So your list, I gotta say, has some surprises, some interesting stuff. I do have to ask, because we brought this up recently. Have you seen Master and Commander with Russell Crowe?
That movie's horrible. Please don't.
Oh my gosh, Jesse Kelly. We were doing so well today. We're doing so well. You don't like Master and Commander? I don't even know. Now, what are you going to tell me next? You don't like Black Hawk Down either? I mean, Jesse, we're going to have to post lists on Facebook and cross-reference and both agree and then make fun of, where necessary, each other's choices on the top 10 all-time war movies list. I can't believe you don't like Master and Commander. Some members of my audience right now are throwing their powdered wigs on the floor in disgust with you.
No, I don't like Master and Commander. And on top of that, I love the sailing ship, age of exploration. I love that type of battle. I love that era. But I thought it was criminal how you could take Russell Crowe in a setting like that and make a movie that freaking slow and boring. And I'm judging you right now, and we're absolutely doing that.
Yeah, we got to have dueling top 10 war movie lists. And before we let you go, Jesse, we got one more thing. There's some exciting news on Pluto TV, channel 248. The first, I'll let you make the announcement on my show. Why not? Go for it.
Oh yeah, we are adding the very own Dana Lash on our show right here on the first, or on our channel, I should say, on the first. That makes a lineup now of Buck Sexton, Dana Lash, me, and Mike Slater. That is quite a lineup. I'll tell you that much. The first is shaping up to be appointment over.
Yeah, I got to say, I actually like everybody who's on the first, which is nice. This is a rarity, I can tell people, in the media game. It's a rarity that you get a bunch of different personalities together, and there's not at least one person that you're like, I mean, maybe they decide that they want to just open a little sweet shop somewhere and not do this anymore. So I'm very happy that we got you, we got Mike Slater, and now Dana Lash, everybody. Dana Lash has joined the mix. If you have not already, download the Pluto TV app, channel 248, the first. Also, check out my man Jesse Kelly's podcast. He is a very funny and very insightful individual, despite the fact that some of the war movies he likes, or actually some of the war movies he hates, are amazing. But we'll leave it at that for now. We'll continue this feud in the future. Mr. Jesse Kelly, great to have you, sir.
Be good, boss.
I promise I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about the royal family in the UK on this show and the trials and tribulations. Good heavens, what's going on? Are we losing some members of the royal family? Oh no. Excuse me, Reginald, bring me my tea. My throat is feeling rather dry because I'm so anxious about what's going to happen here. Where are the servants today? The royal family, what's going on here? Yeah, there's the whole Meghan Markle and Prince Harry thing that's everyone's talking about. And I should have known this, but now we're being told that this is a result of racism. That's why Meghan Markle no longer is not comfortable in the royal family. I don't know or care enough about the royal family to even assess why this is happening. But I found this fascinating. An expert on racism and race relations went on the BBC. Dr. Shola Moss Shagbamimu. Yeah, Shagbamimu. I think I got that right. She wanted to tell folks about what racism really is. Play clip 4, producer Mark.
And I'm not a racist, and I understand that for a lot of people who are triggered by the truth of racism, they can't handle the truth. And because they can't handle the truth, they would look to displace, to distract. I am not anti-white. If being anti-racist means being anti-white, there's just no correlation. It makes no sense. The fact that not just me, but a lot of other people, including white people, have called out racism, not just within the context of what's happening with Harry and Meghan, but that it is a cultural issue in the United Kingdom, tells you that it's something that people are really uncomfortable about talking.
Really uncomfortable talking about it. I feel like I can't speak to the UK context of this, but we have to talk about race and racism in this country so much that it feels like it's been mandated from on high. I feel like this is a conversation we're constantly having. Play clip 5.
I find it quite interesting that people are more outraged about the so-called race card being played than being outraged by racist behavior. It begs the question, what kind of society are we? Why is it difficult for you to understand, accept that it's also your responsibility? And the fact that a lot of people, like myself, there's black people, ethnic minorities, are done with having to bear the burden of not only being oppressed by racism, then having to defend ourselves from the racism, then having to explain what that racism to people who perpetuate the racism, and then bear the brunt of the denial from the same perpetrators that our lived experience of racism doesn't exist. People, we're done with that.
That's right. You can be told that you're a racist even if you don't do anything wrong. If you object to that, that is in itself racism. And people who only want to talk to you constantly about racism are sick of talking about racism because it's too much of a burden. I'm glad we cleared all that up.
It's time for roll call.
Roll call. But first, a little bit of housekeeping. We got a code red via the audience for producer Mark over here. Producer Mark.
Yes.
Where is Clemson located, producer Mark?
I have learned that's in South Carolina.
It's kind of
All right.
awesome.
To be fair, I'm not a college football guy. We're in New York. There's no college football team anywhere near here. Rutgers stinks.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
We've got basketball a little bit with college, but not really.
You got a Rangers hat on right now.
I'm a hockey guy. I'm a baseball guy. I like the NFL, but we don't. I mean, the culture of New York, we don't have a college football team.
Right.
So I screwed up.
It's okay. That's all right. Mea
I
culpa. Producer Mark, mea culpa on this one. Not
a lot of
big
people
deal.
pointed out that I was thinking of Auburn, the rival with Alabama, not Clemson.
That I would have. That actually, I think I did know about Auburn. So I'm glad that we've established this.
I admit my mistakes when I make them.
You admit your mistakes. It's fine.
I still know a ton more about sports than you do.
That is accurate.
Huh?
But we had to clear that up because some people were like, "What is going on in the Freedom Hut?"
I'm sure every message you read is about to be about that.
Here we go. Let's see what we got here. Sandy, First up, this is on Facebook.com/Buck Sexton. Hey, Buck, though I'm not an OSS member, I do remember the early days before your show was 3 hours. Thank you for keeping us safe and warm at night. You are the only show I subscribe to and recommend you to friends often. As a... I thought maybe you were going to escape this one, Producer Mark. As a Clemson graduate, I want to let you know, Producer Mark, that the Clemson University is in South Carolina. We play football at the original Death Valley Stadium. I love your show and wish you, Mark, all the best. That was a very nice one. That was a very supportive.
She was very nice about it.
She likes you. She's on Team Mark. You know,
some Team Brandon's about to chime in soon.
So there's going to be some Team Brandon today. It's okay, though. It's okay. But, yep, it happens. It happens. Daniel. Hey, Buck, I love the show, and it is the one podcast I try never to miss. I want to let you in on a Vince Vaughn movie that I'm pretty sure you haven't seen and will change your mind about his range. It's called Return to Paradise and co-stars Joaquin Phoenix. Not Vaughn playing himself at all, and it's pure drama. An excellent film you should check out, Shields High. Well, Daniel, thank you. I've never even heard of that. I've never even heard of that movie, so I can't comment on it. All I can comment on, Jesse Kelly is a great man. I really do like Jesse Kelly a lot. I cannot believe he trashes Master and Commander like that. I mean, we're going to have to. This is a feud that's going to extend for quite some time now. But anyway, The Dirty Dozen. Have you seen The Dirty Dozen? I've never heard of that. I mean, I've never seen it. I've heard of that one. Matthew. Here we go. Buck, I listen to you through Spotify. I hope you get to see your ratings through Spotify the same way you do with radio and Pluto TV. I discovered your show when an ad played while I was listening to Sean Hannity. I've been a huge fan ever since. Granted, that was a few months ago, but I plan on being all through season 4 and beyond with you. I still like Hannity while I'm waiting for your show to update. His interviews with higher-ups are interesting, but you cover broader topics, and you're actually a pretty funny guy. Thanks. A question that has been rattling around in my brain for a while is in regards to Andrew Yang and more recently Elizabeth Warren in respect to their plans. Yang with his $1,000 a month and Warren with wiping out student debt. It seems to me that is less a campaign ideal and more just an attempt outright to buy your vote. What do you think? Keep up the great work, and know North Carolina's got your back. Well, Matthew, thank you for the very kind note. It's great to hear that you heard about me from listening to the Hannity podcast, and now you're listening to the Buck Sexton podcast. So thank you so much. And yeah, the show is very different. As you know, we do very few interviews here, and have far fewer guests because I always have a lot of things I want to say to you guys. As for the buying of votes, I mean, yeah, but you could always say that. I mean, Matthew, I think that's true, and it seems a little bit more obviously true insofar as the buying of votes with cash in this case is not through some welfare program. It's not something that anybody would look at and say, oh, well, it's like, in this case, it feels almost like you're getting a check sent to you for a vote. But, that's kind of what happens with a lot of the welfare state as it exists. I mean, people are getting money. Although in this case, everyone gets the money. It's just a little different. I mean, I see what you're saying. Also, Andrew Yang is not going to become president, so it's never going to happen. So that's also something we should keep in mind here. And Warren wiping out student debt, yeah, that's a payoff. But a lot of things are payoff to voters. I mean, look what Trump is doing with farmers as a result of the trade tensions with China. People would certainly claim is a payoff, and they would be not, they wouldn't be crazy. It wouldn't be silly for them to do so. Matthew, thank you so much. Great to have some new folks listening in on the podcast. Our podcast numbers are going up every month. By the way, I'm going to have my friend Ben Weingarten in tomorrow and Friday and Monday for me here on the show. So you get a few days of Ben, and that's the biggest break I'm planning on taking from the show until the election. So just know that. That's the idea right now. And Ben will do a great job. He's already lining up all kinds of fantastic guests, and we're looking forward to having him in here and hanging out. Jason, Clemson and Alabama, you guys are killing me. Jason, yeah, man, I gotta say, you're right. So producer Mark and producer Buck producer Mark and host Buck had a little womp womp yesterday. I mean, I even should have probably caught that one. He also sent me a photo of Pensacola Beach, which looks really nice. If I'm looking for a low-key beach with beautiful sand, huh? Interesting. Pensacola Beach. That's my thing. I love beaches. I can't handle a beach where there's I can't handle a beach where there's too many people on the beach. Like when you see these photos of like Rio de Janeiro and everyone's in the water and you're like shoulder to shoulder with everybody. I like to stay away from crowds at beaches. So you got to help me find where that stuff is. Wow. I'm trying to skip. Okay, I'm going to skip. we may have gotten more messages here from people angry about the Clemson thing.
Why do you think I told you in advance we have to address it?
Yeah. That's a thing that happened. Hey, Buck. Gary and Shannon on 64 KFI have a huge list of amazing hangouts in LA. Love the show. Shields high. All right. Thank you, Angela. I'll have to check that out. I got a pretty busy schedule when I'm out in LA, but if I get some time to go see some cool things, I will definitely do so. John. There were women in uniform in World War I. Research the Hello Girls, who were the telephone operators at the front lines. John, I know there are women that took part in the war, and we weren't trying to minimize that, but there were not women running across no man's land with rifles with bayonets on them trying to storm enemy trenches. So that's what we really – and that's – if you see the movie, you'll see that's all there is. There's no, like, back in the rear with the gear stuff. You're on the front line the whole time, moving with the front line. So, yeah. American female switchboard operators in World War I. Signal Corps female telephone operators unit. Interesting. John, I didn't know about that. I'm going to be honest. I got to check that out. Kyle, for roll call. Well, thank you for specifying. What's up, Buck? I've always wondered why legalizing marijuana is considered a left-wing or liberal argument. It seems like more of a conservative libertarian idea of individual freedoms with less government overreach. And not only that, but it's a pro-small business stance as well. A lot of the businesses that have opened up have been wildly successful. I just don't understand why Republicans are so scared on this issue. Kyle, a few things here. I would say, first, if you're going, you can take a position that I think is very much conservative about marijuana that would result in at least the elimination of federal law that makes marijuana legal. And it would take you all the way back to the Supreme Court case, the origin of so much federal overreach, the Supreme Court case known as Wickard v. Filburn. And in Wickard v. Filburn, it was decided that someone who even sold wheat within his own state, because wheat is a cross-state product, it affects the price of wheat in other states, and therefore, even if the wheat is for your own consumption, because you would not be engaging in commerce within your own state that could affect commerce in other states, the Interstate Commerce Clause says that they can regulate wheat that you're growing for yourself, which is stunning. Even if it's not in interstate commerce, it is considered to be a part of interstate commerce. And under that very expansive and very wrong-headed interpretation of the Commerce Clause, you now have the federal government able to involve itself in effectively whatever the federal government wants to involve itself in. There's far, far too much of that to be sure. As for legalizing marijuana just as an idea, it's very hard to make the argument to me that marijuana should be illegal while alcohol should be legal. Both are substances that have, health effect. We just are socially much more inclined to be accepting of the downsides of alcohol. But that's really where I come to. And then also you look at the realities of prohibition and what they have been for marijuana and what they were for alcohol from the, whatever it was, 1920 something to 1930 something. So yes, there you have it. We'll see though. I mean, the real argument would be that the real argument for me would be that it's really more dangerous than people realize. Steve writes, Buckster, you have the best show on radio. Steve, you have fantastic taste in radio shows. You just said that Mitch McConnell should just shut the impeachment hearing down without any witnesses. It occurs to me that the Democrats have strategized this out already. If the Senate does that, Schumer will say Trump has something to hide. If witnesses are allowed to be called, the House managers have that covered too. Everything is geared toward November. Steve, OSS, you rock. Well, Steve, thank you so much for the kind note. Yeah, well, the Democrats are going to have a line of attack here no matter what. If you don't bring the witnesses, there will be a line of attack. If you do bring the witnesses, they will seize upon some aspect of the witness testimony and say, see, the Senate was unwilling, even when presented with the truth, to vote based upon the truth of these witnesses. So you can't avoid that. You can't escape that. But nonetheless, yeah, I think I still stand by my sense that McConnell should just take this and he should just take the football and spike it. Say, nope, we're done. It's been real. Exonerate. And then just have Trump tweeting exonerated in all caps every day for like a month. And just go with that. It'll trigger the libs, and it'll give us the counterpoint to what they're really trying to do, which is all about messaging for the 2020 election. We're aware of that. We understand that. So that's where we're at. All right, skipping past all the helpful reminders about the geography of Clemson. Oh man, producer Mark. The good news is, as long as you don't, mix up Wayne Gretzky with Mark Messier, I think we can forgive you.
I'm honestly shocked you just named 2 hockey players.
Look at that, though, right? That was pretty good.
You struggled. It seemed like
Yeah.
The first one's easy. I mean, come on.
Yeah. I remember he was the best Ranger for a while when I was growing up.
Wayne Gretzky?
No, Mark Messier.
Yes.
Yeah, he was the super well-known Ranger.
Yeah, he
hockey
brought a
player.
cup to New York, and no big deal.
Oh, he did, really?
Yes.
Oh,
Really?
yeah.
You didn't notice a parade in Manhattan?
No.
You lived in Manhattan at that
Parade
time.
probably went past my apartment. I didn't even realize.
Yeah, 1994.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Beth writes, just found you on Pluto. Have seen you on Fox. Was thrilled to find your show on the first yesterday. It was the first time I checked out Pluto. I've been searching for a substitute for Fox during the day. Will watch faithfully each day. Love your show, from Beth. Well, Beth, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Please, do spread the word. Tell people they can watch us during the day. We got Dana Lash in the mix now. Jesse Kelly, Mike Slater, more fantastic conservatives. Young, vibrant, fiery, principled, funny conservatives will be joining the lineup here on Pluto TV, channel 248, the first in the months ahead. And we're going to put on some really good stuff for you. So I think you're really going to like it. Tell people, spread the word. It's free. You download the app. It's free. There's no subscription, no cost, no nothing for you to be watching us on the first on channel 248. Dennis, Buck, I found it interesting that there wasn't more comparison to Trump taking out Soleimani as to when the USA shot down Admiral Yamamoto's plane in 1943. Really enjoy the show. Shields high. Dennis writes, Dennis, we shot down a general's plane and he died. So generals are combatants, folks. I feel like we don't really think about it. It used to be the general was on the horse with everybody, with everyone else around him. And if you got through enough of the other soldiers, enough of the foot soldiers, the cavalry, whatever, you get to the general, guess what? The general's a combatant. Unless he surrenders in time, he can be killed. I mean, this is just because you got 4 stars on your shoulder doesn't mean that you're not a combatant, right? I mean, there's a reason why, officers, even very senior officers carry weapons in war zones. A very good point that people forget about the Yamamoto shootdown. Let's see here. Vincent writes, hey, Buck, it sucks about California's insane water fines. In a totally unrelated subject, a fun experiment is putting a large neodymium, I never know what that is, magnet, I am Ron Burgundy, next to metering devices. It's like freezing them in time. Godspeed, Cali conservative, shields high. Thank you, Vince. I didn't know about that, but I could definitely check that out. Peter writes, Dear Buck, I'm a fairly new listener, and I really enjoy your show. That being said, I have been missing your German accent lately. It is my absolute favorite, and I can't stop laughing once you launch into it. We need Merkel to step up and start meddling in our elections. I enjoy most of your other impressions as well. Otherwise, very good stuff. Thanks for the insight and entertainment. She would say, well, Peter, I'm so glad, Peter, you enjoy the Angela, because she enjoys telling you what to do all the time, all day long. Oh, are you going to be using that light bulb that has too much energy? I don't think so. Not on Angela's watch. No, not allowable. Make sure you tell everybody that Angela is part of the Buck Sexton show, and they should download it or else. Schnell, download it. The Buck Sexton show. Shields high.